Hello everyone, this is part 2 of the Disney Infinity series, and we're going to be covering the most famous, if not the most infamous sequel in this series, Disney Infinity 2.0. Disney Infinity 2.0 was released in 2014, and like everyone suspected at the time, introduced the Marvel side of things, because, Disney owned Marvel. And I think overall for me this time around, the game was significantly and majorly lackluster compared to the first one, and actually kind of bad, but I'll get into this later. But on a positive note, I think for one thing, most of the Marvel characters that were introduced in 2.0 honestly were pretty well done and just look really fire. A lot of them look great in the Disney Infinity style. But the internal flaws of 2.0 are really because it suffers from crappy playsets and a simple lack of content overall. For example, when I mention lack of content, we're going to get into the playsets of 2.0, which, by the way, 2.0 only has 3 playsets this time around, not 6 like the first one. This is really dumb because 1.0 had 6 and also just had overall more content, but this time around only 3 playsets, and also all 3 of them are all Marvel based, which is extremely weird because this is a Disney Infinity. We're supposed to be celebrating Disney things for the most part here, but yet we have no Disney playsets this time around. Weird.
Not a great plan.
Also, all the playsets this time around are actually weirdly shorter than the ones that came before and have less to do and less interesting things to say. So, once again, another con in my opinion. The first playset that you get, which is included in the starter kit because they only have one playset this time around, because once again there's only 3 this time around, is the Disney Infinity Avengers playset. The figures for this playset include most of the Avengers and also Loki, and the basic goal of this playset is you as the Avengers have to find out why frost giants are attacking New York. You eventually find out who's doing all these attacks, which is of course Loki, and you eventually have to stop Loki, which you eventually do so. Not gonna lie with you, overall this playset was extremely meh. There's nothing unique about it, no interesting gimmick that I can say about it, just lots of combat. Now, like I said about Disney Infinity 1, a lot of the playsets did have gimmicks to them that maybe at least remember them. But Disney Infinity 2.0's The Avengers has nothing to say about it. No gimmick, no interesting facts about it, just pretty boring. Also, the map is pretty bland, and like I said, the campaign is way too short. So yeah, meh. The second playset you can play as is the Spider-Man playset, which includes characters like Spider-Man, Nova, Venom, and weirdly a lot of the characters from that really bad Ultimate Spider-Man TV series that I don't think anybody wants to remember, but that's besides the point. The basic goal of this playset is to eventually stop the Goblin from using the symbiote on New York, and you eventually do this and stop Goblin once and for all. This playset, like the last one, is pretty meh and lazy as well, but I would say it's a little bit better because there's more interesting levels this time around and more interesting enemies, but at the same time though, it literally reuses the same map as the Avengers playset since both are set in New York. The only difference is they switch some buildings around and add some rails and cars and stuff. It's overall just really stupid and really lazy, and the playset is extremely meh, if not bad. And then we have the final playset of this game, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy playset, based on the great film that came out that same year. The plot is pretty similar to the movie, but way more condensed, and also introduces Cosmo to the universe, which actually wasn't even in the first movie, which is pretty interesting addition. Overall though, I gotta say I actually like this playset. For one thing, it's an extremely different environment from just bland New York, and also, none of the characters can fly, so you're actually forced to platform and use the things that the developers gave you. Overall, it's pretty decent. I do think the story is pretty meh, but overall the playset is actually pretty decent and I like it. Now for the toy box side of things. I think this is where the most improvements are, because I think the toy box in 2.0 is actually really awesome. For one thing, they got rid of the dumb toy box spins ideas, and you can just basically use Sparks, which is now the main currency, to buy items in the store, which is really awesome. There's also more customization this time around, and the menus are also very nice and easy to navigate this time around, which is awesome. I do think it's really dumb though with this Disney Infinity sequels that you always have to buy back your old items. You would think that you would just place characters or maybe even place playsets down on the portal and they would actually unlock items, but that's besides the point. Overall though, it's pretty awesome addition. They even added a new feature to the toy box, which is the Disney Infinity Toy Box Interiors mode, which is basically you can customize the interior of a room or a living room or whatever, and it's a sick feature to the toy box in my opinion. Overall, pretty great. Power Discs in 2.0 are still dumb as hell and are still in mystery packs and really haven't changed from 1.0, and I really don't got nothing to say about them. They're pretty dumb. I think that the main issue with 2.0 is simply the fact that they really forgot about the fact that it was a Disney game. There was no Disney playsets and kind of just a lack of Disney content overall. Actually, a lack of content overall in the whole game. There was a lack of play sets, a lack of figures, a lack of characters, a lack of new features, and like I said before, no improvements, no single player campaign, like I said, just pretty lackluster overall, and 2.0 was definitely a step back in my opinion. My least favorite of the Disney Infinity games for sure. So that was my video and my thoughts about Disney Infinity 2.0. Once again, stay tuned for part 3, and thanks for watching.
You will all fall before me. Boy! Boy!